Welcome back to the Naxxramas Raid Guide. In this video I'll be covering Instructor Razuvious, the first encounter of the Death Nightwing. My name's Ciderhelm from TankSpot, and like the rest of these videos, these are intended for full raids rather than just for tanks, so feel free to repost them to your guild forums. Notice how I just started the encounter. This is a relatively simple encounter, but you do need to pay attention to the mind control orbs, or if you're in the 25-man version, your priests are going to have to be aware of how to properly mind control the Death Knight understudies, and that's really what this video is about. Before I get into the details on that, I'll go ahead and explain the other things going on during the encounter. Instructor Razuvious can do something called a Disrupting Shout. It is not a whole lot of damage, just a small AoE damage going to be between 4 and 5k to your raid. He's also going to use a single target ability randomly called Jagged Knife, and that's going to hit someone for about 5k, but it does leave a pretty nasty dot, about 2k per second for 5 seconds, so you're going to have 10k additional damage. If that comes after a Disrupting Shout, it can be damaging if players aren't being healed to full. But healers are going to have an additional responsibility. They're not going to be healing their main tank in this situation. They're actually going to be healing these Death Knight understudies. Now let me get into the Death Knight understudies themselves. This encounter revolves around actually tanking Instructor Razuvious using mind-controlled understudies of his. The way you actually do this is you're going to use those orbs, and when you're going through this, you have to make sure that you use the Bone Barrier. That's going to be, I believe, your 6th ability on your hotbar, maybe your 7th, I'm not positive on that, but it's going to be the farthest right over. You're going to use your Bone Barrier, and then you're going to taunt. You're going to have 2 understudies during this time, so you're actually going to be alternating. You're going to use your Bone Barrier, you're going to taunt. When yours is halfway off cooldown, your other tank, the other understudy that's being mind-controlled, is going to taunt off of you only after they've activated their own Bone Barrier. You're also going to want to make sure that you turn auto attack on right away, and you're going to want to make sure you're using Blood Strike as often as possible. That's your far left ability. Well, it's far left of the 3 abilities in the middle. A few things that you're going to want to watch out for. One of the trickier things, I know I had problems with this, was actually dismissing my understudy. There's a way to stagger this so you guarantee, and you'll watch me doing it right here, so you guarantee that these are always up for as much time as possible, and they don't break prematurely while you're trying to tank him. You'll notice you get something called Force Obedience. That's a buff, and you'll see in blue, you'll see that timer going on there. That lasts for 2 minutes. However, you're not going to kill Razuvious for a little while until your raid is geared up. You're not going to kill him in under 2 minutes. So what you're going to wind up doing is he's going to break immediately when that Force Obedience comes. If you're tanking him at the time, Razuvious is going to run towards you, he's going to one-shot you, he's going to go around the raid, kill everyone off. It's not a pleasant thing to have happen. Immediately after your off-tank taunts, when you've got about 30 seconds, or between 30 seconds and a minute, immediately after your off-tank actually taunts off of you and gets Razuvious, right-click your pet frame and dismiss your pet, and then immediately re-click on the Obedience Crystal. You don't want to double-click it, because if you double-click it, it's kind of like Razor Gore from Blackwing Lair. Double-click it, it's going to cancel the effect right away, and the understudy is going to run right back towards you. So make sure you single-click it, make sure you do click it, and then you'll bring it back. And you'll go ahead and taunt off your off-tank, who will then do the same thing, ideally. That's the encounter. What I would suggest doing with this particular video, I would suggest watching through it again and watching exactly what I do and watching exactly what's going on. The only other thing I'd add to this is you don't want both tanks controlling this. If you have one tank that can use debuffs on Razuvious, it does reduce the damage he is doing to these understudies, and that will be stressful to the healers. Thank you for watching the Instructor Razuvious video guide. If you have any questions at all, regardless of whether you're a tank, please feel free to stop by TankSpot.com.